Let's talk about the most special shimmer shadows in 10 different eyeshadow palettes. So I did a video recently where I talked about the best-selling single eyeshadows, and today I wanted to feature some eyeshadow palettes that launched in 2024. These are all from indie brands, and they all have beautiful shimmers, and some of these have just the most unique shimmer shadows, and these just really live in my mind rent-free. So I wanted to talk about them, so let's get right into it. The first palette I'm going to talk about is the Get Stoned palette. This is from the brand that originally started out with rhinestones, and they recently, just this year, added a eyeshadow palette. It is an all shimmer palette. It is $45. It is so underrated. I think it's an amazing value. I don't think there's any true multi-chromes in here, but there are definitely duochromes, and I really love these two shades. But the shade I wanted to talk about is Baby Hollow, and it's such an interesting shade. It's got like a grayish purple tone to it with very, very fine hollow flecks throughout. I just think the tone of this one is very unique. I'm not really sure if I have anything like it. It is quite sheer. It's very smooth, very sparkly though, and it does kind of build up a little bit. It reminds me of like a cloudy, stormy, grayish, plumish vibe, and it is so beautiful. The hollow particles in it aren't really evenly dispersed, and there's also other colorful flecks throughout. So I see pink and green, or teal and aqua. It's such a beautiful shade, and again, it is just so smooth, very easy to use. The next palette is the Flourish palette from Ensley, and the shade I want to talk about is this one in particular. It is such an interesting shifty shade. It's got a little bit more texture to it, but just a little bit. And this is such a really vibrant, bright orange with a pink magenta shift, but flashes blue straight on. It is such an interesting shade, very shifty, and I just really love the tone of this one. I think everything about it is very unique. The combination of the colors between the base and the shift, it's just a stunner, and it does smooth out. Next palette is the Harvest of Souls palette, and I want to talk about the shade Eternal. It is such a beautiful smoky purple. This one is definitely way more opaque and a totally different type of shade from the Baby Hollow from Get Stoned. As I said, it's way more pigmented, and it is also darker. And it's very smooth and very sparkly, and it does have a little bit of like a silvery shift in it, which is just super interesting. I think it really adds just extra dimension to this shade, which I feel like the shade already is just so spectacular in its tone. Next, I picked up the Unearthly Cosmetics Gargoyle palette. I just recently did a video with this one, and the shade I want to talk about is a Guardian. It is such a stunning neutral. It's a yellow gold with pink flecks throughout it. Truly magical. And it does have a yellow shift to it as well. It's just very dimensional on the lid, and of course the texture is absolutely spectacular. You can see just how smooth it is while still being sparkly and shifty. Adept Cosmetics collaboration with Amy Loves Makeup. I want to talk about the shade Pisces. It is such a beautiful shadow. It's very smooth. It has almost like a purpley blue base to it with a light yellow goldish reflect to it. It is a little bit squishy in the pan, but look at that. Look at that shine. I think the base is so unique, especially in contrast to the flash straight on, and then it does fade into the base on an angle. It is such an interesting shade. Next up is the Ultraviolet palette, which is a collaboration between Bella Beaute Bar and Deandra Nicole. And there's actually two shades in here I want to talk about, and that is Spiritual and also Extravagance. So here's Spiritual. It just has so many beautiful flecks throughout it. And then Extravagance is just really interesting. It's like a smoky bluish purple, but it's got a lot of brightness to it. It is such a beautiful shade. Both of these are very smooth. And so this one has like a plum base with a light yellow flash straight on and a shift to purple. It is so stunning. These are some of the first shades I thought about when I first decided I wanted to do this video, because they just really stood out to me this year. The Flutter palette from Ensley. Of course, I had to talk about Golden Hour. This shade is so beautiful and so interesting. When I first saw it, I knew that I wouldn't have anything like it. It's got a teal base with a, again, like a light yellow flash straight on and orange as well in there. And a little bit goes a long way. I mean, I could just keep swatching that one. It is so beautiful. And then it shifts to lime green. But you can see the orange straight on with the teal base and then the green shift in there. It is ultra shifty, ultra dimensional, super, super beautiful kind of shade. And very smooth. This is the Somber Garden palette, which is a collaboration between Shellwe Makeup and Freya on Instagram. I think the shade in the shade is so, so unique. This one is just like a grayish blue with a bunch of pink flecks throughout it. It's very interesting kind of shade. And then this one also has a bunch of different flecks throughout it as well. And I could not find anything like it. It's so interesting. I could even see in the pan, they just looked quite a bit unique. So this one's got like a pinkish purple going on with some blue flecks throughout, and it shifts to, maybe it's like an antique green, I would describe it, I think. And then this one has a little bit of a shift to a pink. It is so spectacular, and they are very smooth. You can really see the flecks throughout here. There's some aqua and bright, bright pink. And then this one, the blue. Such beautiful shades. The last two palettes I'm going to talk about are both from a Bella Beaute bar, and this is the Vamp palette. Love this palette in general. I do really love this shade, Skin of a Killer especially, but this one right here is truly just such a unique, very interesting kind of shade. It's got a black base with bright pink flecks throughout, but it does shift, which makes it really, really interesting. So it's not necessarily like super, super metallic, but it does have quite a bit of a metallic look to it because of these sparkles. It's such an interesting take on a black base multichrome essentially. So you can see the shift. I think I see orange, yellow, gold to green. And then of course the pink straight on. Such an interesting shade. The other Bella Beaute bar palette is the Poison Garden. And I want to talk about Belladonna as well as Poison Hemlock. Just spectacular shadows. I mean, look at that. They look so cool, especially in person. This one just is like almost like confetti with a black base to it, like a goth confetti essentially. There's Belladonna and Poison Hemlock. And they're both very smooth, and they are very dark shimmers with almost kind of the same charcoal black base to them, but it's almost got a little bit of a blue tint to it. So Belladonna has like a pink reflex straight on, shifting to orange to gold to lime green on a harsh angle. And Poison Hemlock just has so many flecks throughout it. I see green, I see pink. There's just a lot going. It's almost like hollow, but it's not actually a hollow shadow. It is so gorgeous. Would love to see more shades like this and like variations of opacity. So those are all the shimmer shadows that I thought were really special between all these different palettes. Let me know in the comments below which palettes you think have some really special shimmer shadows in them. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I hope to see you next time.